we are in serious trouble if we start experiencing this. All right, guys. So the movie Leave the World Behind. I know a lot of preppers and conspiracy theorists saw this movie, and we were all like, aha. Like, we were looking at this movie, like, there was a lot of aha moments, and then there was a lot of, like, what did that mean? What was that message? Is there a hidden message there? And some of us watched the movie more than 2, 3 times so that we could pick up and learn what else they might have been telling us. But I found it interesting that upon watching the movie for the like umpteenth time, and not as of recent, that the people, excuse me, the nations that were involved are the same nations that are involved in what's going on right now in Iran. In the movie, it was Iran, Russia, China, and North Korea. In real life, it's Iran, China, Russia, no North Korea. North Korea is like trying to make noise and look at me, but whatever. We treat them like a retarded child and we just push them to the side. Nonetheless, guys, there are things starting to heat up now. Now, in the movie, they didn't mention a conflict, or I don't remember hearing a conflict as many times as I watched it, but there were things that started happening, like cyber attacks, them controlling certain vehicles, like the boat in the beginning, the Tesla cars in the middle of the movie, sort of at the end, right? And so there were a lot of big cyber attacks happening. Now, there was a rumor that one of the U.S. warships were hacked. Of course, when I looked into it, there was no information, but apparently this information was leaked online, but I do not know how true it is. Now, the warship that was supposedly hacked was the USS Boxer warship. And again, when I looked it up, they didn't have any information on it. So again, could be rumor, could be real. If it did happen, I could see the government keeping us close to the vest because they don't want that to get out there. And again, they said that it was an Iranian hack that did this. I don't know. It could have been the Chinese, maybe the Russians, Iranians. Now, Iranians do have a serious hacker troop, if you will. From what I've been hearing for years, they're about as good, if not better, than the Chinese and the Russians. But again, that's all rumor. Now, if the hacking thing does start going down, the 3 stages that happened in the movie, we could start experiencing in real life. And again, because we are at odds with these countries or these nations, it could absolutely happen in real life. Now, would it be as grand as the movie? Probably worse. Because what the movie touched on was the experience of those people trapped in that house. In the real world, a lot of bad shit was going down. Now, the one thing that the movie, I think they mentioned, but we're starting to see, or at the very least, might be a cover-up, is the fact that the financial system looked like it's going to crash a lot sooner than a lot of people thought. Because first of all, the money we're dumping into a war that we cannot afford, and the amount of foreclosed homes that are on the rise that no one's talking about. Now, yes, you can look it up yourself. If I'm not mistaken, I think this year are 40,000 foreclosed homes. And I think last year was 30,000. So it might have been like 10,000 more this year on top of the 30. Nonetheless, that's a bad sign that people cannot afford to pay their mortgage in their foreclosing homes. That is only going to get worse because the job market is getting bad. People are losing their jobs to AI. Companies are restructuring and they're letting people go. They're getting rid of redundancies in that area or that business. So that's starting to happen, and you're going to see a lot more of that and a lot more jobs being lost. Now, that's the real life side. In the movie, the 3 stages are what piqued a lot of people's interest, conspiracy theorists and preppers alike. Now, the 3 stages were isolation, synchronized chaos, civil war, or coup d'etat. Now, coup d'etat, I'm not sure, though there is a lot of fracturing in the military itself. Obviously, a lot of that information is not getting out, but if you do your research, you start connecting the dots, you can see that there are military personnel arguing amongst one another, especially this whole Iranian operation. People are arguing apparently with Pete Hegseth, about how to go about it. And it ranged from how to go about attacking to not attacking at all to using a different tactic. So there's a lot of problems in it. Now, Pete Hegseth, that bag of shit, last year started moving around military personnel, leadership, if you will, started moving around. Those loyalists, if you will, were the ones they kept closer to the circle, and people that he deemed not loyalists, he pushed them to the outer circle. So now they're away from the war room, and they're out doing bullshit or reassigned to other places, which he did last year, around July or so. He started reassigning people, and people started resigning. So he had that issue going on. Now they're still infighting because of this war. That's the problem, guys. The military fracturing, the coup d'etat. Again, I don't want to say it's going to happen, but this is the kind of makeup that can cause it to happen, or at the very least, start a civil war. Because if you have military generals arguing with one another about something that a lot of them agreed we shouldn't have gone into, but now that we're in it, now they're arguing about tactics. Again, this is stuff you can find online. You can look it up yourself. I promise you, you start connecting the dots, you're going to see it. Now, as far as isolation go, cutting off communication, again, I told you this a few months ago. They were talking about an all-out attack on our cell phone system, where they flood our text messaging system and the 911 system with fake phone calls. That is effectively cutting off communication. You will probably be able to call somebody else, but you couldn't call 911. If they create chaos and they flood the 911 system, phone calls are not going to get out. Now, they creating chaos, I think, would be Mossad or the United States, or some clandestine group connected to Mossad or the United States. That would be the isolation that they're talking about, or shutting down the entire phone cell system. So now you can't call anyone. Now you can't even use the internet. That's jammed. Your cell phone's jammed. All of it is jammed. The old phone lines, they don't work the old way anymore. Everything is now like fiber optic or some shit, and digital, and digital now, so you can't do the phone line thing anymore. Communication's completely cut off. Now, stage 2, the synchronized chaos. That is happening as we speak. We are, guys, being inundated with wrong information on all sides. Whether it's Israel, Iran, or the United States, we're being lied to by every angle. So what do we believe? You got to dive deep and look for videos and see if the videos are even real, because of AI. AI is actually adding to the synchronized chaos, because now people are looking at videos that are clearly AI and believing it at first glance. But when you start pointing out certain things in a video, people go, oh man, I fell for it. A lot of people are falling for AI, and AI misinformation is getting better. The stuff with Benjamin Netanyahu, these videos that they keep trying to release, they're convincing people he's still alive and he's still real. I think he's badly injured. I wouldn't be surprised if he's dead. But he's not touring these damaged areas. He's never done it before. He is not going to start doing it now. And not when Iran is still lobbing missiles. So that last video was complete nonsense. Plus, he looks too clean and old, youngish, if you know what I mean. You looked at a video of him right before he was badly injured, and then you see him now. There's no way, especially under what he's supposed to be under, extreme stress, he doesn't look that youthful. He looks a lot more youthful and springish than he normally does in these AI videos. That's the dead giveaway. And if you are under attack constantly and your people are dying, the last thing you're going to look like is you got a pep in your step. You don't. The spread of fear here in the United States, the sleeper cell, I told you guys before, the sleeper cell thing is nonsense. They've been spreading that sleeper cell nonsense since 9/11, maybe even before that. But I remember 9/11, they were like, oh, Iraq has sleeper cells they're going to activate. Iraq has sleeper cells? Remember that? They're like, they're going to be in the country and they're waiting to spring up on us. They never did. Now, 2026, now we got Iranian sleeper cells that are ready to pounce on American citizens. They should have been pouncing on us a long time ago. Now, there's a huge difference between sleeper cells and sympathizers. These knuckleheads that are going around shooting up synagogues and shit, those are sympathizers. Those are not sleeper cells. They were trying to paint the first guy in Austin, Texas as a sleeper cell, sympathizer. Two different things. The sleeper cell shit, and on top of that, sleeper cells will be attacking the infrastructures. They'll go after water purification plants. They're going to go after the electrical grid system, maybe internet companies. That's how sleeper cell would operate. They're not going to be walking down the street with an AK popping people. They're just not going to do that. They're going to play the long, damaging game, which is severing our communication, entertainment, or whatever it is. Synchronized chaos is actually happening as we speak, but it's not at the totality like it was in a movie. The other thing is, to create that kind of synchronized chaos, you have to cut out communication, leave us blind, and then start lying to us with leaflets and things like that, like we're in the movie. But if we start experiencing, guys, the same shit in the movie, like we're experiencing some things, but once we experience the communication cut off, our phones go dead and our internet's dead, it's on. Now you guys have to jump into action, and I'm going to do that for another video. But if you start experiencing that, you guys have to set a protocol now so that when communication cuts off, you're not relying on your phones. Now you're relying on your family members to get to point A, B, or C. Set it in motion now. Get it written down on paper. Make sure people carry it in a waterproof envelope or something like that, or a plastic baggie, and label it, black hour or some shit like that. And as soon as something like that happens, they go immediately to the paper and they start reading what they need to do, which is, of course, get home and then whatever you're going to say. Actually, I don't have to do a video. I just explained it right now. But that's what you would do. Write everything down on paper. We're going to go back to the 1980s, guys, before text messages and cell phones and beepers. You're going to write everything down on paper. You're going to give detailed instructions on what to do and how to do it, so that when the system goes down, or if the system goes down, you have paperwork to go to. I had the idea, and I never got to it, that envelopes had different colors, right? So, for example, black would be like the zombie apocalypse. Red would be nuclear war, or possibility of nuclear war. Blue would be some kind of weather emergency. And they would go through that, and they would open it up, and that's what they had to do. Sort of like the nuclear codes being in their own envelope. That I separated the events by color-coded envelopes. You could do that, right? But nonetheless, guys, have things written out on paper, and then when you get home, have a whole pad of instructions written out. Hell, even print it on your computer, print it out and put it in a booklet of some kind, so that when people get home, they know what their jobs are, right? They get home, they got mission 1 over. They got home, they return. Now everybody has a mission to do once they get home. They go to their booklet in their room, and they start reading their jobs and what they have to do to secure everything, make things in order, and the whole 9 yards. Because once you're cut off, that's it. And at the bottom of all that, don't believe anything you see, hear, or read, because it's going to be nonsense moving forward. Other than that, guys, this is the Angry Prep.